Okay. Well, thank you everybody for joining in. It's an honor to speak into this class. So I'm just going to keep it very brief, so we allow time for questions and answers at the end. And through this course, if you can call it that, it's really a crash course. But through this, we'll be touching on the hopes that at the end of this, would know one, what stablecoins are. So we have a sense of compliance and regulation of stablecoins, right, globally and locally. Three, we would go through, some frequently asked questions on local currency stablecoins at least. Then we hope that I'll introduce everyone to the concept of the stablecoin sandwich, right, which is a model that's quite popular now globally. Then introduce everyone to what stablecoin transactions look like for cross-border payments and why they improve those transactions. Go a little into some of the payments use cases for stablecoins. Then come back to compliance considerations, regulatory alignment, and risk and mitigation strategies. Can everybody still hear me clearly?
Oh, yes, we can.
Oh, okay, perfect. So I guess the first question, as always, is what are stablecoins? Let me flip it this way. What are stablecoins, right? Stablecoins are digital tokens pegged to currencies, right? Like fiat currencies. And just for people that might not know, fiat currencies are government issued currencies, right? They're called fiat because effectively they are issued by the power of the government, right? So government issues currencies are called fiat currencies, like the naira, like the USD, Kenyan shillings, South African rand. So stable coins are tokens, digital tokens, pegged to these, government issued currencies. And these tokens are then created on public blockchains like Ethereum, like Binance Smart Chain, like Base, those sort of chains, the public chains that we all know. And they are designed to maintain a stable value relative to the underlying assets, right? In this case, the underlying assets is, these fiat currencies. So they combine the price stability of traditional government money with the speed, transparency, and programmability of blockchain infrastructure, right? What does that mean in practice? It effectively means that stablecoins track or stablecoins, one stablecoin is equal to one underlying currency, right? Depending on the specific underlying currency. In our case with the cNGN, one cNGN is equal to one naira, right? So you basically have naira, but now you have naira that also has the speed, transparency, and all the other advantages that comes with blockchain tokens, right? All the advantages that comes with any other token, right? Like Ethereum, like Solana, like Bitcoin, all the tokens, whatever they can do. What that means is the international acceptability or the global acceptability of tokens. Once you put a national currency on that system, it means that national currency now becomes immediately acceptable globally as well, right? Once you put a national currency on a blockchain, it means that the fees are now better. It means that transaction failure rate is almost zero, right? For cNGN, for example, every transaction on cNGN has gone, and cNGN has done. We just clocked more than 100,000 transactions, right? So users have done 100,000 unique transactions, and every single one has gone. None of them has failed. If you've ever sort of, worked in a bank or back end, or even just at the bank in Nigeria, you see why this is a miracle. But yes, that's basically it. So stablecoins inherit all the advantages of blockchains, while being able to bring the usefulness of currencies, right? So that's ecosystem. So there are two broad categories of these types of stablecoins, of fiat-backed stablecoins. So there are regulated stablecoins like USDC, like cNGN in Nigeria. These are issued by licensed entities under legal frameworks and regulatory frameworks. Those stablecoins are typically fully backed, right? So what that means is for every cNGN in circulation, for example, or every USDC in circulation, there's a USD somewhere in the bank, that you can confirm through audited reports that backing is complete and total. And then it means that these stablecoin issuers are subjected to a lot of you know, regulatory scrutiny. Now, there are also, of course, unregulated stablecoins, issued by communities that may not be audited, you know, or even known, and they typically lack clear legal backing or reserve oversight, right? So a stablecoin reserve is effectively the government of fiat currency backing the stablecoin, right? So that's what we call the reserve. So some of these unregulated stablecoins, might not even have, you know, necessary or requisite reserve oversight. So that's what's interesting about them. So on compliance and regulation of stablecoins, as stablecoins become increasingly central to global payments because they are, stablecoins are currently processing trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of payments globally, right? All of the major players in the international markets, from Visa to MasterCard to, to banks, to Stripe, to think about it. All of them are now leveraging stablecoins for their payments infrastructures, right? So as these stablecoins become very important to global payments and the global financial infrastructure, governments and regulators continue to create frameworks that ensure consumer protection, stability, and clarity. So, with this year alone, we've gotten regulations from United States. I think last year, the European Union came up with regulation. I'm aware that China is coming up with regulation. Hong Kong has a regulation out. Australia, Canada, different markets. Basically, every country in the world has to create, you know, frameworks for managing stablecoins. You can no longer ignore stablecoins, right? You can't, the time of saying, oh no, we're not dealing with this, we're not touching this is a bad asset, that time has passed. And now governments are making sure that instead of being afraid of it, you have to work with legitimate private sector players and ensure that those private sector players are doing the right thing. Those private sector players have total, complete backing for their stable coins. Those private sector players are not doing anything that would harm the public or public users. I mean, in many respects, stablecoins are even more efficient than banks, right? Because with banks, I don't know how many of us know this, but with banks, there's something called the credit reserve ratio, right? And what that means is when you deposit your 100,000 naira in a bank, the bank only needs to keep 33,000 naira, right? The rest, they can use it to do whatever they want to do. But on top of that 33,000 naira, they can issue 100,000 naira credit to you, if that makes sense. I know this will be confusing. I don't know, again, apologies. I'm not too sure about the demographic of the class. I don't know if that's something I can ask right now. GP, can I confirm what the demographic of the class is, or do we just keep it moving? Are the participants able to speak? I just want to know how deep we might be able to go today, or if it's best to
Okay.
keep it surface level.
So majorly, um, we have a lot of the class is basically designed for basics of the blockchain.
Oh,
That's
okay.
not too in depth. Many people are beginners here, and they just have surface level knowledge
Okay.
of
Okay.
blockchain. For others, this is like the first experience. So
Okay. Understood. Understood. Thank you very much. Yeah. So we'll continue to keep it simple. Yeah, so we've gone past the time of governments or even you as a normal person saying, "Oh, what's this blockchain? Oh, what's this crypto?" It's for bad actors, because in 10 years ago, I mean, how many years now? 7 years ago, MMM used Bitcoin to do Ponzi scheme, to do their Ponzi scheme. So a lot of Nigerians still say, "Oh, Bitcoin is fraud," or the equivalent is government just being afraid of stable coins. So we've gone past all of that now. Now everybody's forced to participate in this system, right? And at the government level, at the policy level, they now have to come up with regulation to ensure that everyday users are safe, when dealing with some of these instruments, because these instruments they are here to stay. It's basically new money in town. It's the most advanced. It's what we've done is put Naira on the most advanced payments system in the world, right? And that has some very interesting implications for all of us long term. But yeah, there are three of the most prominent regulatory frameworks emerging globally: the Genius Act in the United States under the Trump government. We have the MICA in Europe, and then the SEC framework in Nigeria. Right, those are some of the regulations that's picked up a lot of interest. I know a lot of people are also watching the China situation very closely. And the reason people like Nigeria is so much in this space is Nigeria is definitely one of the top 5 markets in the world, right? For blockchain. So for developer resources, that is some of the best blockchain talents in the world come from Nigeria. Whether it's builders and talents, you know, whether it's just users and markets. Chain analysis, a new report came out some days ago or some weeks ago. I think they said Nigerians processed like 90 something billion dollars in crypto. And those are known transactions. So, of course, there are a lot of unknown transactions. And there are a lot of Nigerians in diaspora doing a lot of volumes that might not be tracked to Nigeria, you see. So the Nigerian market is very interesting globally for that reason. And because of that, the global ecosystem watches very closely, what is going on in Nigeria. And what that means in practice is easier as a Nigerian, even from Nigeria, to get positions, to get jobs, to get grants, to get different things within the blockchain ecosystem. Just because the world is watching, the world is very interested in our markets, especially our blockchain markets. So what that means in practice is we now have a lot of offers, right? There's so much we can do if we take this space seriously. But yeah, back to the point. So the Genius Act in full is the guiding and establishing national innovation for US stablecoins, right? So Genius in short. This act establishes a formal regime for fiat-backed stablecoins in the United States, right? Some of the provisions: you must have one-to-one reserve requirements held in US financial banks or institutions. You must have monthly attestation and real-time auditability. What this means is just like us, we have attestation auditors that what they do is they go back. Like now, they're currently doing our audits for last month. This is what, October. So for September, they're currently doing our audits. They just finished. So what they do is they go back day by day and they check all the transactions on all the different blockchains, and they make sure that those transactions, let's say we had 600 million, on the 10th of September last year, 600 million this year, 600 million cNGN on the 10th of September, right? So last month, they will go to that 10th of September, and then they will go to your banks and check all your bank statements to confirm that 600 million cNGN you say you must have at least 600 million naira to create that 600 million cNGN, right? So they do that, they check day by day, check all the different blockchains, check all our banks, all our asset managers, they check everything to confirm that at no point in time did we have more cNGN than the naira in the accounts, right? If we ever have that, then we're going to be in very serious regulatory trouble. In fact, fortunately for us, our system does not even allow us create cNGN if there's no naira, right? So to even create cNGN in the first place, the system has to check your naira balance, confirm that you have that naira before the system even allows you to create a transaction to even initiate the creation of cNGN in the first place. But yeah, so this is what this is asking when they say monthly attestation. It means that your auditors must do that every month, go through all your transactions and confirm that everything is in order. Redemption guarantees for users, licensing requirements for issuers, right, including capital requirements, focus on enabling non-bank financial institutions to issue stablecoins under supervision, right? So MICA is, the European one, and this covers the entire EU. So France, Norway, Netherlands, Germany, everywhere in the European Union. It creates disclosure rules, gives governance. EU doesn't play when it comes to these things. They overdo sometimes even. But in Nigeria here, fortunately, the SEC took leadership in last year and created this sort of sandbox environment that allows created this incubation program that allows serious players to to issue stablecoin. And fortunately, we were the only ones qualified so far to issue the naira-based stablecoin in Nigeria. So, a question we get often, but before even that, let me kind of introduce cNGN. cNGN is a naira-backed regulator recognized stablecoin under the regulatory purview of Nigeria's SEC, right? Reputable licensed partners are integrating cNGN for use in many of their use cases, right? So, is a stablecoin like cNGN the same as INARA? That's a question we get asked often, and that's why we put this one here. So, I'll quickly explain some of the distinguishing factors, right, from a stablecoin and INARA. So, one, the INARA is obviously issued by the Central Bank of Nigeria. cNGN is issued by private regulated entities. So in practice, it means we tend to be more innovative. We tend to move, ahead of times, and we can reach more people in the sense that central banks are not maybe best suited for dealing with everyday consumers, right? Because they are the central bank. They are the final voice. They're the final regulator. So it's always good to separate church and state, if you like, right? It's always good to keep the central bank separate from everyday users. If not, that causes some level of conflict, because you can create situations where they might end up being, the prosecutor and the judge in that case. So it's always good to kind of have that separation, in my opinion. cNGN is on public open blockchains like, you know, Base, you know, BSC, Ethereum, Polygon, just normal blockchains. If you start to research blockchains, you see there are a number of important, popular blockchains. But the INERA was on Hyperledger Fabric, which was a private closed network for good reasons. You can't expect the central bank to put transactions on public chains, especially one not owned by Nigeria. Programmability, but the only difference is when you put something on a private chain versus on a public chain, it means that you're locking it out of the rest of the global ecosystem, right? Which you can understand why the central bank will not want to put it there. But you still need something that can talk to the rest of the world. You need something that can interact with the global ecosystem. And that's why it's pertinent that we have these public open blockchains, right? And with stablecoins, they are very highly programmable. They can be embedded into different apps, different use cases, different things. With CBDCs, they are restricted to central banks, right? And their designs. I think I touched on this earlier. Just by the very nature of these things being on public blockchains, they are global and they can work across the entire blockchain ecosystem and wallets. INERA and other central bank digital currencies need, by design and definition, they need to be domestic and they need to be within closed systems. And then, of course, you know, anything central bank ideally should be controlled by banks, right? It should be between banks and central bank. Um, you shouldn't have too many counterparties dealing with the central bank directly. Otherwise that introduces some problems. But stablecoins can do that. So I'll pause here. If anybody has any questions, comments, feedbacks, very welcome. I prefer, these things to be interactive. So I have a sense of where our mind is at, and I have a good idea on how to proceed or what to focus on going forward. But yeah, please, if anybody has any feedback, insights, anything, please feel free to bring it up. Thank you.
All right. Everyone's mic is muted. We do that during the classes so there wouldn't be disturbance. But if you want interaction, we can unmute anyone who has anything to
Oh,
contribute
please.
or
Yeah,
ask.
please.
Um,
Please. Please, you can do that.
yes.
That
So
would
if you
help
have any
us to get
question,
immediate feedback. Yeah.
all right. So you can raise up your hand if you want to say something and would grant you mic access. Mic access would unmute you. So any questions, contributions, feedback, just kindly indicate and would unmute you. All right,
Please feel
we
free.
have
Any question?
Chibuzo. We have,
Yeah, no question is too. Let's feel free. Everything is welcome.
all right, Chibuzo, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for the explanation. I came across this cNGN so a while back, and I
Okay.
started searching for platforms or exchanges that where you can find. Apparently, I found like 3 or so. There's one called Busha. So I don't know if you can enlighten us on more platforms or exchanges where the cNGN is now available on.
Right. So there, as far as platforms, there are a number of platforms. In Nigeria, I'm aware that Busha, Quadax, I'm aware Roku has deployed cNGN. Zen Finance has deployed cNGN. There are a lot of wallets. I'm happy to maybe share like a link with GP later to distribute to everybody. But there are a number of wallets and platforms that have now integrated cNGN. And I'm aware that a lot of the international exchanges are very, very interested. I know Coinbase Wallet is interested, Kraken. So we'll definitely see more and more in the coming months. But in the meantime, yes, a lot of wallets have integrated it. I'm happy to share maybe a link, right? Like a spreadsheet that has all the different wallets and exchanges that have chosen to deploy cNGN. I don't know if that would help. But what's your use case for cNGN? Why were you interested in it? Hello, Mr. Chibuzo.
Okay, I think let me unmute him again. All right, Chibuzo, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, the use case basically is for easier transactions, and then especially within Nigeria. I started I got into crypto not too long ago. I was one of those who had access to Bitcoin when it came, but not only did I not buy, I was an evangelist telling people not to buy that. It sounds like a scam.
Many
So
people, my brother.
yeah,
Many
so
people.
I got into crypto and I'm seeing how easy it is to use. And I feel like some of my local transaction and then also and also maybe trading to keep the value of your currency, So that's when I came across the stablecoin, the cNGN. So basically, it's just to preserve what I have and then for see if it's available for local transaction. I find it much easier and less stressful than doing transfer in banks. And I'm also hoping that with this free African free trade arrangement, that we could have something like cNGN or other stable coins playing a part in those transactions across Africa. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So yeah, I know after this, maybe if you can send your wallet to GP or something, your cNGN wallet, let me send you something for Coke. But no, thank you. Thank you for that brilliant explanation. Yeah. So I don't know if anybody else has any questions or feedback.
All right. Chibuzo, you'd find me on the class group. You can send your wallet to either me or David, and I would forward it to our lecturer, Mr. Oyoyo. Congrats. We have Favor in the chat. She said she's lost. She doesn't understand what we're discussing yet. I think maybe you probably joined the class a little bit late. We're talking about stable coins, and Mr. Oyoyo was walking us through from the basics of what stable coins are and cNGN in specific. So we'll be having a recording of this class on our YouTube channel. It would be uploaded on Sunday along with our weekly quiz, the second weekly quiz. And maybe he might shed some light on some of the things you missed also, maybe towards the end of the class so you can catch up. So we'd be happy to carry along, Favor.
Yeah, but I'm happy to kind of go back a little bit. But what we're speaking about specifically is stable coins, and stablecoins are basically a representation of currencies, right? It's currencies of different countries. The only difference here is you are putting those currencies on the blockchain, right? And then given what that does in practice is, one, it makes transactions much faster. It makes transaction failure much, much lower, basically zero. I was explaining earlier that so far, you can check our website. There's been more than 100,000 transactions, right, on cNGN, and there has been zero failed transaction. So that's very impressive if you ever tried to build a bank. And I know because we own a microfinance bank, so I know how difficult it is to process transactions, from bank to bank in Nigeria. But with stablecoins now, you've had zero transaction failure. So it's even better than OPay, It's much better than OPay, I should say. So yeah, so it brings a lot of functionality, right? By just putting this currency on blockchain means, zero transaction failure or almost zero. Of course, nothing is perfect, but it's very, very hard for transactions to fail on chain. So almost zero transaction failure, improved speed, settlement finality. I can get into some details of this, but when you transfer money from your bank, from your OPay, for example, to Access Bank, in reality, most of the time, money is not actually moving. It's NIBS, the interbank settlement system, that is just telling Access Bank, settle this customer, we'll give you the money tomorrow, or give you the money after close of business, because the other bank has the money to fulfill the transaction. So just settle their customer, we'll take the money from them and give it to you at the end of the day. So back end, that transaction is not actually going. But with stable coins, that transaction is going in real time, right? So that's the interesting thing there. So it's faster, it's cheaper, and it's more efficient. I don't know if that helps the person that asked, but I'm very happy to get feedback from them if that was a helpful summary. But I think the last thing I want to touch on today is the sandwich model. So basically creating, if you have a product or if you're a builder or you want to create a product or a service, there are many ways to leverage stable coins, leverage different entities with different licenses to create your solution end to end, right? With stable coins, you can create your own startup that manages, some of these transactions and some of these flows, right? It gives you that edge, it gives you that advantage in a way that is compliant, in a way that is regulated, right? So I think this might be too. I think this might be too deep for the class for now. So I'll just leave it here. If anybody has any questions or if you want me to go into the stablecoin sandwich model, but it's basically, let me just go into it. Why not? So it's basically a cross-border payment process that starts with funding in local currency like the naira or like the dollar in America, and then it converts that dollar in America into USDT, right, which is a stable coin, and then it converts that USDT into cNGN, for example, and then allows you pay your users in Nigeria, if that makes sense. So what this means now is there are many fintechs leveraging this model to help their users process payments faster and cheaper than anything else that exists, right, up until this point. And there are some very, very interesting opportunities there. I think this might be beyond the scope of at least this first class. So I just want us to focus on the initial part and let it sink in. So I'll just walk through this very quickly again. So stable coins are digital tokens pegged to government money, right? Government currencies like the USD, like the Kenyan shillings, like the South African rand, or the naira. These stable coins are issued on public blockchains. Another misconception is when people hear stable coins, they think that the value of the assets it means that it's stable, right? It's called stable coins because it's stable relative to the underlying asset, right? It doesn't mean that it's stable in value. Even the US dollars has lost 11% this year, right? So even the US dollars has not been stable at all this year. But USD stable coins are still stable because if you try to convert them to USD, you're going to get 1 USD. So these stable coins combine the price stability. What that means is as long as the price is stable of that underlying currency, the stable coin is going to be equal to the underlying currency. So 1 naira is always going to be equal to 1 cNGN, no matter what. And then it brings that traditional money, like your naira, but it gives it more speed, more transparency, and more usability, right? So there are two broad categories. There are regulated stablecoins and there are unregulated stablecoins. Regulated stablecoin examples would be cNGN, USDC. Unregulated stablecoins, there are so many of them. There's a USDT in many markets, not too regulated. There are so many of them. There was BUSD before, now they've shut it down. There are a lot of unregulated stablecoins. There's DAI. There are many of them, not to mention names. Well, many of them have failed, unfortunately. The unregulated ones, many of them have failed over the years. So fortunately, really, because it allows the market, it purifies the market. So for compliance and regulation, we're making the point earlier that there are 3 main, advancements in regulations globally. There's the Genius Act in the US. The US has come up with their own regulation. There's MiCA in Europe, and there's SEC rules in Nigeria, right? Why Nigeria is so important here is because Nigeria is one of the biggest blockchain ecosystems and blockchain markets in the world. And that means that there's a lot of interest from the global community in everything going on in Nigeria. And what that means for you as a person, and why trainings like this or institutes like this, are so important, like Candleweb, is they give you access to one of the biggest ecosystems in the world, where the most important people in that ecosystem globally, we're talking of billionaires here, right, that have done very big things in China, in US, and wherever. But they are very interested in everything we're doing in Nigeria. They are keeping our pace. If they see that you're tweeting anything from Nigeria in the blockchain space, they'll follow you on Twitter, they'll follow you on LinkedIn. Everybody wants to be in touch with what's going on in Nigeria, because Nigeria is a leading market, in this sector. So people are very, very interested in us in the blockchain space. And that's why I advise everybody to key in. It's one of the easiest space to get jobs in, like global standard jobs. One of the easiest spaces to get investments, to get grants. I can't tell you what a lot of us have benefited from this space, right? Yeah, there's so much. There's so much. I know people that started building products, and now, they're traveling the world funded, to meet with investors, to meet with donors, to meet with, to go to conferences, to give speeches. There's a lot of that. They are very, very interested in the Nigerian ecosystem. So I'd say take this opportunity very seriously, and maximize it, because it can really open doors for you globally. So yeah, so the everything happening in Nigeria is very interesting to the global ecosystem. And here we differentiated the difference between, a CBDC and a stablecoin, right? So CBDCs are by central banks, stablecoins are by private issuers. CBDCs are on private closed blockchains, stablecoins are on public open blockchains. Stablecoins, have like high usability and programmability, and can be embedded in multiple apps. Obviously, central banks need to restrict their CBDCs for obvious reasons. Stablecoins can work globally across all the different blockchains, wallets, ecosystems. Central bank money needs to be domestic for obvious reasons and stay closed. So those are some of the things we touched on. And then I spoke about the stablecoin sandwich, which is a model a lot of fintechs, a lot of banks are now using to leverage stablecoin technology, and you can too. So thank you very much. I'll just open it for questions or any comments or feedbacks. But yeah, thank you, everybody.
Well, thank you so much for the amazing class, Mr. Oyoyo.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much,
so
sir.
much. Yes, so we would be moving to the next phase of the class, which is the questions and answers phase. If you do have any question, please indicate by raising up your hand or dropping your question in the chat, and we would be reading that out and attending to it. So time for questions. Please drop your questions. All right, we have a question. Okay, we have some questions in the chat.
Yeah, I think we have some questions in the chat already. I think about 3 or 4 questions already.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Uyoyo, for joining us. It's a privilege to have you join us here and educate our students on stablecoins and cNGN. And also, just to share, I think cNGN is currently having some kind of campaign for creators. I don't know if that's still active. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's something that anyone here can also participate in. So if you're a creative, you make content, video content, you write articles and all of that, I think it's something you can participate in, and then you can also get rewarded. I think that way you can have like a first-hand experience with cNGN. Sorry, is that still active? The campaign, is it still active? Is it still running?
Okay, I'm muting him right now.
Okay.
No, thank you. Yes, yes, it is. It is. It definitely is.
Yes. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for making out the time to join us today.
No, thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the invite. True pleasure being here.
Awesome. Awesome. I think you can carry on with the
Alright.
questions you wanted to read out.
Yeah, all right. We have two questions from Faith Achibong. Her first question, please, can the stablecoin be used in the local market, like a day-to-day life of regular people? Also, can we get stablecoins convert? Can we get stablecoins convert to our naira? Okay, can we convert our stablecoins to naira? I believe that's the structure. Then her second question, can we save our money in stablecoins? If yes, are there any specific benefits we would have as compared to saving in naira?
Okay. So yes, thank you for that. That's a very important question, really, and very straightforward. So yes, there are. Sorry, let me just drop this. Sorry, 1 second. So yeah, you can always offer. I'm trying to get the links. Give me 1 second, please. So for example, you can always convert your stablecoin to Naira. Even on different platforms allow you to do this, right? So Busha, Quirax, all those platforms, they might not be as efficient as one would like sometimes, but they allow you to do that. But this platform works perfectly well. You can always convert your cNGN to Naira found in this platform. No blocks. I've just dropped it on the chat. I think the other question was if you can save, and the answer there is also yes. I currently have a lot of my savings in cNGN, and I'm making 20% on my savings, and it's not just because no, I think this is the wrong link, and it's not just because sorry, that's wrong. That's not what I want to send. Not Zen, it's Zen Finance and Send. So here, you can easily sign up here. I should have tagged this better. Sorry, let me just I'm in the comments here. For this is for savings Naira, and this is for investing. Let me see if I can delete this one so it doesn't confuse anybody. Sorry, I'm just going through the comments and responding some. So this is for investing, right? So I'd say that this is a very good time to invest in Naira, relatively speaking. Just because if you think about the Naira doesn't get devalued every day or every week or whatever. There's inflation and there's some fiscal indiscipline, but the Naira generally gets devalued in circles, right? And given that we've just come out of a devaluation circle, this is the time to be very bullish on the Naira. I think I'll say that much. So even as a company, even as a group of companies, right, our strategy has been to focus on much bigger Naira positions, right? And as an individual myself, the same thing. I've continued to move my personal savings or my family savings more and more into the Naira. Obviously, I'm a professional, I'm an investment professional, so I can really advise. You have to do this thoughtfully. But yeah, there are, I'd say right now it's a pretty good time to have like Naira because the rates are good and it's unlikely that Naira is going to get devalued over the next year, right? So it's a good sort of like safe bet to put some of your financing in. Thank you. I don't know if that answers the questions, but thank you very much for that brilliant question.
Yeah, thanks a lot. And I think the first one was if the stable coins can be used in local market, like the day-to-day life of regular people.
Yes. So you currently can transfer. There's this thing on WhatsApp called Azar. I'm seeing they are doing announcements everywhere. Let me just look for one, or it'd be hard to get. Let me check. I think I saw one today. Let me drop one for you guys so you can follow them on Twitter. They are doing. So it's basically using your stablecoin on WhatsApp for payments, right? So on your WhatsApp, you can now, and that's one of the functionalities that stablecoins unlock that basically nothing else can unlock, right? With your WhatsApp, you can go to Ghana, you can go to Kenya, you can go to South Africa, and just make payments with your Naira. That's something that was not possible before now. And that's something that, these guys have unlocked. So things like this, would give more and more value, more and more utility to our Naira, not just in Nigeria, but globally. But yeah, even for you, you don't have to now start sweating about where can I sell, where can I buy, I have crypto, blah, blah, blah. On this WhatsApp app, you can just chat it on WhatsApp and say, send 10,000 Naira to Uyoyo, right? Or Basira, whatever, and you just do your transfer directly from your stablecoin wallet, everything on WhatsApp. So you don't even need to go anywhere. So it's very, it's a very interesting use case. So yeah, there are a number of platforms like this. Again, I'm happy to share one more. But there are a number of platforms that allows you use stablecoins as as normal money.
All right. Thank you very much for that answer. Thank you very much. So we'll be moving to the next question from Favor. All right. Here it goes. Do you need a data center to own a company that manages stablecoin transactions? Then what coin is the coin for measuring the value of other coins? Okay, I think she explained further. Like the Naira devaluation is determined by its value to the dollar. Okay, and the dollar, although not the currency with the highest value, but it is used as a constant measurement point for most currencies. Is there a coin like the dollar? I'm finding it hard to understand your question, Favor. But the first question is clear. Do you
I
need
don't
a
know if
data center to own a
I don't know
company
if
that
can
manages
unmute.
stablecoin
Can we
transactions?
unmute Favor so we can have like a discussion? Because this seems like a PhD thesis. Just so I'm sure that I'm capturing and I'm giving the right response. I don't know if I can hear from Favor directly.
All right, Favor, please, you can unmute yourself. Yeah, Favor, you have mic access. You can speak. Your mic is unmuted already.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, yes, we can.
Okay. Okay, good day to everyone. Thank you for the class, sir. Sorry for confusing you with my question.
No worries, no worries. I think I have a sense of it, but I just want to be sure.
Okay, so like you would hear that there's devaluation of naira when the value of the naira to the dollar is the gap is wide, and usually most currencies are measured to the dollar in that way. Although like we have other currencies like pounds, euros that have more value than the dollar. So I'm asking if there's a coin like that, like the dollar, that's is like a constant measurement point for other coins. I think it would help influence the kind of coin that you go for, you buy or you invest in. I don't know if it's clear.
Not entirely, but you're basically saying, is there like a reference assets where other coins are referenced to?
Yes, something
Price.
like that.
So like the price of naira now is one. Let's say 1.5 to $1. So in that sense, naira is priced in dollar. So you're asking
Yeah.
what are other things priced in? Is that correct?
Yes, like is there a coin like you could that does what the dollar does to the naira. I don't know how to explain it
I know
further.
what you mean. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Really, it used to be. It used to be what you call now Bitcoin in those days.
Okay.
But now, that's interesting. But now it's no longer. Now it's USDT. So most digital assets are now priced in USDT. But it used to be Bitcoin like 2016, 2015, those periods. But from 2017, USDT started to come on the scene. And right now, like almost everything is priced in USDT. So in a way, crypto is still everything in crypto is still kind of denominated in the USD. I don't know if that answers your question. But it's not USD, it's USDT and USDC. Does that answer the question?
Yes, yes, it does.
Yeah. So the second question, please, what was it?
So I asked if you would need like a data center for you to have um a company that manages stablecoin transactions.
No, no,
Okay.
you don't. At least not at this moment. Not in Nigeria. So right now, what you need is you don't. Short answer, you don't. But there are ways to, even if you're using like remote servers like AWS, there are ways to, domesticate it more or domicile it more, right? Even if it's remote. But yeah, right now you just don't need to have your own data center, if that helps.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, I see we have maybe a minute more. I'm not sure how this runs, but any questions or how do we progress? Thank you. I don't know, David, Omeka, what's the Mr. Chibuzo? How do we?
Yeah, no, I have no questions.
Oh, okay, thank you. Okay, so thank you everybody. I think that would mostly be it from me for now. Thank you very much, and please feel free to reach out via social media, Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever. If you have any questions, I'm very happy to answer. Thank you.
All right, yeah. I guess that concludes today's lecture. Thank you so much, Uyoyo, for the presentation. It was quite
Thank you.
insightful. It was quite insightful. I had a question, but I think someone else asked already. So I learned from that. But all in all, thank you so much. Thanks so much. So,
Thanks, sir.
guys, you all had what Mr. Ogier said um, about stable coins, how you can buy them, how you can invest in them, how you can learn more about them, how they work, and all of that. So make sure to take advantage of it. And even if you didn't take anything from his lecture, you didn't get anything from his lecture, at least go home with the fact that he said that the blockchain space is filled with a lot of opportunities. Just like him, I myself have also benefited from a lot of the benefits in the space, and there are still a lot more people who are joining the space and they're benefiting from it. So take
Absolutely.
advantage of it. Yeah, so take advantage of those opportunities and just don't take these lectures or attend crypto-based events just for you to just have the knowledge and not apply it in your day-to-day life, right? So I hope you all would be able to apply what you've learned in your day-to-day lives and buy some cNGN. Yeah, buy some cNGN. Try it out, see what it looks like. And yeah, also do follow cNGN on Twitter and LinkedIn and other socials. And also make sure you do follow Mr. Uyoyo. I think we mentioned him on all our posts. So yeah, feel free to.
I'm happy to, David. I'm happy to buy everybody like 2K cNGN on Zen Finance, just so you can invest it and start to play with it. I'm happy to do that. So just let me know
Awesome,
what you go about it. Yeah.
awesome,
Just sign up.
awesome.
Send me your wallet address on Zen Finance.
Oh, that's perfect. That's perfect. So you guys had him. So yes, you can just create an account on Zen Finance and then share your address on the WhatsApp group. Myself or Isaac would make a list and then share it with him. Thank you so much, Uyoyo. Thank you so much for that. That's very generous of you.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure.
All right then. I think the attendance for this class will be up very soon. So be sure to fill it out. As we've been saying, you need 70%. You need to have a score of 70% for you to be able to get the certificate that comes after the course. So yeah, I think the attendance will be up very soon. And if you have further questions, you can send Mr. Uyoyo. Okay, awesome. The attendance is live already. So if you have further questions, you can feel free to ask within the posts we have on LinkedIn or on Twitter, or you can send it directly to Mr. Uyoyo, or you can ask on the WhatsApp. Thank you everyone for joining today, and we would be seeing you all by next week, Tuesday. Yeah, by next week, Tuesday. I think next week, Tuesday, we would be talking about exchanges, wallets, and networks. So we'll be having representatives from KuCoin Exchange that will be joining us next week, Tuesday. So be sure to attend. I'll see you all next week, Tuesday. Enjoy the coming weekend.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Don't forget to sign the attendance. And for the rewards which Mr. Oyoyo mentioned to give those of us in the class, I'll be creating a sheet where I'll be submitting your wallet addresses, your cNGN wallet addresses, and then we'll be sending that over to him. So thanks everyone once again. And thank you so much, Mr. Oyoyo, for the amazing class. Do take care of yourselves and have a good night. See you in the class group. Okay. Finance. All right. Thanks, everyone. See you in the group. Take care.